Alright, here we go. What the hell happened to this game? It's been over a year since this game was first released, and we had high expectations for what Niantic would create with Pokemon Go. From the day that it went live, Pokemon Go had over 28 million users playing the game on that day and was raking in over $10 million just from that one day alone. But as you can imagine, with all mobile games, it suddenly started to decline. But what happened here? Was it just the result of another failed attempt at a game, or did the creators over at Niantic really screw up the game design? Today in this video, we're going to be talking about how Pokemon Go completely obliterated itself just by their pure game design flaws that are just laden in the game itself. I mean, there's so much they could have done to make it a much better game. And if it weren't for the GPS technology and the augmented reality, which no one really even uses anymore, the game would be nothing. I mean, no one would even be playing the game. The only reason why it's still alive is because of the Pokemon brand and the addiction from all the other players who have loved Pokemon like I did when I was a kid. And I'll be honest, I've been playing it quite a bit since the new patch came out, but there's still so many problems that you would think after a year they would have fixed. So I wanted to make this video not only to educate the audience, to hopefully create a community that'll push Niantic to make the game a little bit better with simple tweaks, simple things that any game designer is sure to notice. I mean, from somebody who has actually built games on the side, I've read textbooks about game design, I've built games myself, made VR games, I've made, I've made a variety of games. So this is something that I feel like I have some experience to talk about. So what actually went wrong? Why did the user base get suddenly killed off? And is there a way to actually bring these players back? And is there a way to actually make this game better? Well, the answer is of course yes. We gotta look at the core fundamentals and what they are lacking. It's really not even a Pokemon game. Yes, there's Pokemon in there, but it lacks a lot of the main fundamentals that came from the original Red, Blue, Gold, Sapphire, Crystal, Moon. All the different games that came out were actually under a different company, Game Freak. This is the main company that came up with the Pokemon brand. It's often confused that Niantic is the actual Pokemon company, but it is not. Matter of fact, it's not even close. It has almost no relation to Game Freak, the original creators of Pokemon, and to the Pokemon company or the Nintendo franchise itself. As a matter of fact, the company was founded in 2010 in San Francisco, an American software company. I was actually kind of stunned when I went to Niantic's website because what I found was they're actually not really focused on Pokemon Go at all. As a matter of fact, they're not really even focused that much on games. Their main slogan here is building technologies and ideas that move us. So they're more interested in the AR and the platforms and really the technology itself. And if you finally scroll down, then you see some stuff about Pokemon Go, which is crazy because you would think that a company that has this kind of potential, this kind of audience, would actually try to focus on that brand itself, would try to focus on expanding the game, but it's clear that that's not really a priority for them. If you remember back to the good old days of Blue, Red, and Yellow, the original Pokemon games, you'll remember that Game Freak is actually the creator of the Pokemon series. And it's no wonder that they did such a good job on the game because, as you can see, they had a variety of other games that they had made before actually pushing out Pokemon. And when you go to their website, you'll see that they're focused around games itself. So I can't really read Japanese, so I can't say what their slogan is. I couldn't find it when I was looking online, but it's pretty obvious just from seeing their main homepage that gaming is their priority. They're interested in helping the player get the best experience, which is why the games were such a success. That's what they focus on, and that's what they created. Niantic, on the other hand, is focused more around the technology, which is the GPS technology and the location-based gaming and the AR aspect that caused them to build this type of game. So Niantic went to these companies and asked for the funding, which they so graciously got. The Pokemon company itself actually provided some money alongside of them to help them produce this game. Niantic, on the other hand, hadn't really had much experience with games. Ingress was really the only game that they had made, and they basically made it with the same exact technology that they built Pokemon Go on. Pokemon Go is very much built upon the back of this initial game, which has also declined significantly in the amount of players. So to make it as clear as possible, Niantic is not the Pokemon company. As a matter of fact, they have really no affiliation with the Pokemon brand, except for the fact that they went to Nintendo and they went to the Pokemon company and got permission to use the branding, they got the licensing for it to use the actual Pokemon to build the game upon. The problem here is Niantic's really not that good of a game design company. But Mark, how could you say such a thing? Well, let's look at some very simple flaws within the game design that we can easily fix right here in this video. Pokemon Go, like any video game, comes with an avatar, which is the way that a game is played out, through that person's eyes. So the player itself gets to walk in the shoes of the character within the game. The problem is the avatar has very limited amounts of features that the player actually gets to add. So there's not very much personalization for the characters themselves. What do I mean specifically? Well, let's look at some simple things. First off, if you're a male and you try to change up your hair, you'll notice that there's really only one set of hair, which is this crazy hair that I guess everyone in the world has, the crazy anime hair, and you only have 4 colors. And you would think that, okay, maybe they only added 4 colors because they wanted it to be realistic and only have a few colors, except for the problem that one of the hair colors is blue. Why not add pink for the ladies? Why not add green? Why not add gray? I mean, there's so many different options that they totally missed out on. An opportunity to really diversify each character, that way they can create ownership. I mean, every single player likes to create an avatar that at least resembles a character that they want to play as, or themselves even. And the fact that you can't even do that makes it very limited and makes every character pretty much look almost exactly the same. I mean, you go to click on the hats and you find out that you can't even use an actual hat. I mean, that's the picture that you click on and then you find out there's actually no baseball cap. I mean, instead you get like this 1950s hat and the Magikarp hat, which must have taken some time to develop. Why are they neglecting adding a variety of other hats and skins? I mean, that's some of the easiest stuff to add into the game. It amazes me that they haven't done that. The next major problem is the leveling process, which is a grind, and for someone who's level 28, I can tell you I have evolved a ton of Pokemon to get to that level. And so it turns out that the fastest way to level is to catch Caterpies, Weedles, and Pidgeys, because they require the least amount of candies to evolve, and so that's actually the fastest way to do it. You use a lucky egg, you wait till you get a bunch of candies for them, and then you just go on an evolving spree for the next 30 minutes. That really takes away from a game that's supposed to be fun, and you're supposed to enjoy it along the process. It amazes me that they give you a very minimal amount of experience for catching rarer Pokemon in the game, and as a matter of fact, a Pokemon that can evolve almost provides no value at all. So you kind of say, is this Pokemon even worth catching? Especially considering the fact that a lot of them are harder to catch, so you end up using more Pokeballs to catch them. To me, that just doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's like once you've caught that Pokemon before, there's no incentive to really go and catch another rare Pokemon just like it if you're going to get the same amount of experience. And as a matter of fact, you get less experience because the second time you catch them, you don't get the extra experience for catching a new Pokemon. So what you end up getting is people being like, why would I go catch a Magmar when I could catch a Pidgey and evolve them later and get more experience out of it? And by the way, the Pidgey's going to be easier to catch than the Magmar is, and I've already caught one, so again, I'd rather catch the Pidgey. That, to me, is ridiculous. Another major flaw is the poor use of the variety of Pokemon that's in the game. I mean, it's incredible. You go to every single gym, and what's the one Pokemon you're almost guaranteed to see every time? What's it? That's right, a Blissey. Every single Poke-Gym is stacked with a Blissey. And why is that? Oh, I don't know, because they made it the strongest Pokemon in the game, without fail. Whatever happened to the Poke Trainers that were like full of electrodes? Instead, Niantic has made a major mistake here by screwing up the scaling by making it predetermined for each and every Pokemon to have a certain CP. So a Tyranitar has a tremendous amount of CP compared to, I don't know, let's say a Charizard. Which you would think that a Charizard at some point would become better than a Tyranitar, but it actually is capped. The CP is capped. So as a result, you have a variety of Pokemon that just go completely unused. So what you end up getting in the long run is you have a Sunflora and a Politoed in your inventory that never actually gets used in a Poke Battle because their CPs can only reach a certain level compared to all the other Pokemon. So why would you even spend Stardust leveling them up? A simple way to fix this would just be to add a little bit more RNG to the Pokemon that you catch, so there's an opportunity for each Pokemon to actually have higher CP than a Blissey or a Tyranitar or any other Pokemon that is consistently the strongest. So you end up using the exact same setups for every single time that you go to a gym, and there's no variety. You never have an opportunity to use all the other Pokemon to battle with or play with them. So there's a major flaw there. But some people might say, well, it's Niantic's goal just to get people to play together and go outside. No, not to be the best trainer, that ever was. Except that defeats the purpose of the game, right? The game is to be the best or to win, right? There's a win and a lose criteria. Except there's some major flaws or some major opportunities, rather, where they could actually put in some incentives for playing with others, which they've done that. So they've added raids, for example, which you need to have multiple players to take them down, at least in some cases. If you're high enough level, you can almost take down a raid by yourself. Or at least you can definitely do 1 star, 2 star, 3 stars, 4 star even possibly. Almost any mainstream gamer can tell you that there's games out there that feature different incentives for players playing together. For example, Overwatch is a perfect example. If you're paired with another party member, you get an additional 20% XP for every game that you play. Why wouldn't Pokemon Go add something like that in there? If you're on the same team with somebody, or if your GPS is it within the same range as another person, or you're in the same party or the same faction, when you take down a gym together, they should have an incentive for playing with other people. And even if you catch the same Pokemon, for example, there should be an incentive. This again allows people to connect together by incentivizing them to say, hey, let's go catch Pokemon today, as opposed to sitting at home spoofing and, just trying to catch Pokemon all by yourself, right? So these are some easy things that they could do to improve the game. But instead, what you have is a bunch of people gathering for a raid boss when it opens, and then when it's done, everyone just parts and goes their own way because there's no real incentive besides that to play together. And the last thing, and I swear I'll be done after this, is the punishment for the cheaters. Since we were just talking about the spoofers, it is no surprise to anyone watching this video that there's cheaters in the game who use fake GPS software, and I've personally used it just to test it out myself. Guilty! The problem is there needs to be a checks and balances system in the game that helps these players get caught and get the right punishment. Initially, when the game first came out, you had a lot of players that were using the cheating software to not only track Pokemon down, but to be able to move their GPS to be wherever they want. And what happened as a result is those players got totally banned, regardless of how much legitimate game time they had, and if they just downloaded it and played it for the day, they'd be completely banned from the game, which to me is a terrible punishment. That's like, just think about the law and order system that we have here in the US, which is if you get arrested for a little crime, you don't send them to prison for the rest of their life, right? But now Niantic has completely jumped to the other side of the spectrum, and instead all they do is soft ban people, which just makes it so they can't catch Pokemon for the next 15 minutes or so, and so they just put their phone down, they wait, reopen the app, and they just do it a little bit more carefully the next time so they don't get caught. They also mentioned that they're going to crack down on the cheaters by causing the Pokemon to have a slash room, and it gives them some sort of terrible abilities to where they're almost useless. Except I haven't seen that happen, and I know there's plenty of cheaters because I see them just about every day at every single raid gym when it's me there and a couple other people, but it's full of 20 people somehow at Santa Monica. What would be a more reasonable punishment would be to either take away some experience that they've gotten from that week, or just make it so they're limited to the amount of experience that they could get that week. That way they can't excel beyond normal players, and it incentivizes them to actually play the game legitimately. If they get caught enough times, they realize it's not worth it to cheat because you're not actually making any progress. So there needs to be a checks and balances system there. And lastly, let's think about the little guy. For those people who are just starting to play Pokemon, it's almost impossible for them to compete with the big gyms. You take one shot from somebody at a gym and you're out. Almost any other game doesn't allow you to play with high-level players or play with overpowered players because they want everyone to be on an even playing playing ground. So what they should do is make it so that the gyms scale to how the players play. So that means adding more moves, that means making the dodging more effective, that means making it so the players can actually interact with their team members better. Maybe there's a way for, if you're playing with somebody who's a high level, that person's level translates into the other person that's on their team. That way they equally share damage or something along those lines. That way for the new people, they don't feel like they've already missed out, because if everyone else is so far ahead and this game continues for 5 years and everyone keeps the same amount of experience, those new players that come in that would like to play, they have no real reason to even attack a gym. So these are some simple things. I'm really hoping Niantic is actually watching the video. That way they can take the feedback and do something to make the game better. But like I said, I don't think that's a big priority for them. I really hope that Game Freak, for example, steps in. One of their game designers come over and actually helps revamp this game, because it is in sheer need of a revamp. There needs to be some major changes across the game. It just needs to be completely overhauled. And I would love to see some progress made on this game. If you have any feedback, if you think I missed anything, leave some comments in the comment section. I'll be posting more videos similar to this as far as game reviews are concerned, and just games in general. I'll do some Let's Plays, I'll do some product reviews as well that involve gaming. And thank you guys so much for being here. I am Marky Mark, and welcome to Game Slayers.